Three frightening folklore of the Pacific Northwest. Welcome to our channel, friends. A place where the veil between our world and the next wears thin, where shadows whisper secrets best left unheard. Tonight we journey to the Pacific Northwest, a land of towering forests and rugged coastlines. We bring you three spine-chilling stories, whispered around campfires and passed down through generations. Turn off the lights, sit back and prepare to be terrified, for the darkness is listening. Deep in the heart of the Pacific Northwest, where ancient forests stretch towards the sky, lurks a creature born of cold, hunger, and despair. This is the Wendigo, a malevolent entity spoken of in hushed tones by those who dare to venture into its domain. Imagine, if you will, the biting wind whipping at your face as you trek deeper into the wilderness. The air grows heavy, charged with an unnatural stillness, a silence that seems to press down on you. It's in this silence that the legend of the Wendigo takes root, its presence felt long before it's seen.
The Algonquin people, indigenous to these lands, tell of a creature twisted by greed and driven by an insatiable hunger for human flesh. They say the Wendigo was once human, a lost soul who resorted to cannibalism in the face of starvation, a transgression that warped their spirit, twisting it into something monstrous. Picture this, a towering figure, emaciated and skeletal, its skin stretched taut over bones, as pale and lifeless as moonlight on a frozen lake. Its eyes burn with an unholy light, a mix of hunger and madness, reflecting the torment that rages within. Its teeth, jagged and sharp as shards of ice, are bared in a perpetual, chilling grin.
The Wendigo, they say, can mimic human voices, calling out to its victims in the dead of night, luring them away from the safety of their fires. It preys on the weak, the lost, those who stray too far from the beaten path and succumb to the cold embrace of fear. Sightings have been reported for centuries, each tale more chilling than the last. Some describe hearing its haunting cries echoing through the trees, a sound that chills the blood and sends shivers down the spine. Others claim to have seen its grotesque form lurking in the shadows, its eyes glowing with an unnatural light.
One particularly unsettling account tells the story of a group of hunters who ventured into the wilderness never to return. The search party that was sent after them found their campsite abandoned, their belongings scattered, and an eerie silence hanging in the air. The only sign of their fate was a single word, scrawled in blood on a nearby tree: Wendigo.
Whether a creature of folklore or a terrifying reality, the Wendigo serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks at the edges of our world. Our next tale takes us deeper into the shadowed history of the Pacific Northwest, to the remnants of a bygone era, where the silence of abandoned logging camps is broken only by the mournful cries of the wind. Here, amongst the decaying structures and overgrown paths, walks the spectral figure of the Lady in White, a harbinger of tragedy and lost love. Imagine, if you will, the ghostly glow of the moon illuminating the dilapidated buildings of an old logging camp, its windows like vacant eyes staring out into the night. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying wood, a scent that speaks of forgotten lives and lingering sorrow.
The Lady in White, they say, is not a malevolent spirit, but rather a heartbroken soul tethered to the physical world by a tragedy she cannot leave behind. Her story is often linked to these old logging camps, places where life was harsh and unforgiving, and accidents were a constant threat. Some say she was the wife of a logger, her heart shattered by his untimely demise in a logging accident. Others believe she was a young woman who met her end under mysterious circumstances, her spirit forever bound to the place where she took her last breath. Whatever her origins, the Lady in White is typically seen as an omen, a spectral messenger foretelling misfortune or danger.
Those who claim to have seen her describe a figure of ethereal beauty, dressed in a flowing white gown, her face obscured by a veil or the shadows of the night. There are tales of loggers spotting her on the outskirts of the camp, her sorrowful eyes reflecting the moonlight, only to disappear into thin air when approached. Some whisper of hearing her mournful cries echoing through the empty buildings, a chilling lament that speaks of a love lost too soon.
One particular story tells of a group of teenagers who dared to spend a night in an abandoned logging camp, eager to test the local legends. They laughed and joked, dismissing the stories as mere superstition, until the early hours of the morning, when a chilling silence descended upon the camp. One of the teenagers, a young woman, stepped outside to investigate the sudden quiet, her heart pounding in her chest. As she peered into the darkness, she noticed a faint light emanating from the old cookhouse. Curiosity overcoming her fear, she cautiously approached, her hand trembling as she reached for the doorknob.
As she pushed the door open, a cold gust of wind extinguished her lantern, plunging her into darkness. A blood-curdling scream escaped her lips as she found herself face to face with a figure in white, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. The figure reached out a hand towards her, and the young woman fainted dead away. Her friends found her outside the cookhouse, babbling incoherently about a woman in white and eyes that burned like fire. They never returned to the logging camp, forever haunted by the experience. Chapter 3. The Haunted Lighthouse. Our final journey into the eerie folklore of the Pacific Northwest takes us to the rugged coastline where crashing waves meet towering cliffs and the mournful cry of seagulls fills the air. Here, perched precariously on a windswept headland, stands a solitary lighthouse, its beacon a lonely sentinel against the encroaching darkness.
But this is no ordinary lighthouse. This is a place where the veil between the living and the dead wears thin, where the spirits of shipwrecked sailors are said to roam, their mournful cries echoing through the fog-laden air.
Picture this: the sun sinking below the horizon, casting long shadows across the choppy waters of the Pacific. The sky blazes with hues of orange, purple, and blood red, a breathtaking spectacle that belies the darkness settling over the sea. As twilight deepens, the lighthouse's beacon flickers to life, its beam cutting through the gathering gloom, a warning and a promise to those who navigate the treacherous waters.
For centuries, lighthouses have stood as symbols of hope and safety for mariners battling the unforgiving sea. Yet they are also solitary outposts, often perched on treacherous stretches of coastline, witnesses to countless tragedies and maritime disasters. It's no wonder then that these beacons of light are often associated with tales of the supernatural, their lonely vigils imbued with an eerie sense of anticipation.
The haunted lighthouse of our story is no different. Locals speak of it in hushed tones, their voices laced with a mixture of fear and respect. They say the spirits of those lost at sea, victims of storms, treacherous currents, or simply bad luck, are drawn to the lighthouse's light, seeking solace and perhaps a way to communicate with the world they left behind.
Fishermen tell tales of seeing ghostly figures silhouetted against the lighthouse's beam, their spectral forms swaying in the wind as if beckoning them closer. Others whisper of hearing disembodied voices carried on the salt-laden breeze, whispers of warnings, pleas for help, or simply mournful laments that send chills down the spine.
One popular story tells of a young couple eager to experience the thrill of a night in the supposedly haunted lighthouse. They dismissed the local legends as mere superstition, convinced that their love for each other would protect them from any harm. As darkness enveloped the lighthouse, they explored its dusty rooms, their laughter echoing through the empty halls.
But as the night wore on, their laughter turned to uneasy silence. Strange noises began to emanate from the depths of the lighthouse, the creaking of floorboards, the rattling of chains, and the sound of heavy footsteps pacing the rooms above. The air grew heavy with the scent of salt and seaweed, and a bone-chilling cold settled over the couple.
Terrified, they huddled together for comfort, their eyes darting nervously towards the shadows that seemed to writhe and dance in the flickering candlelight. Suddenly, the lighthouse's foghorn blared to life, its deafening roar shaking the very foundations of the structure. The couple screamed, their voices lost in the cacophony.
When the foghorn finally fell silent, they were gone, vanished without a trace.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the eerie folklore of the Pacific Northwest. We've explored the chilling tales that have haunted this region for generations. Stories whispered around campfires and passed down through families. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more terrifying tales. We have so much more to explore together, so many more shadows to illuminate. But for now, as you turn on the lights and return to the comfort of your own surroundings, remember the stories we've shared. Until next time, stay safe and keep your lights on, for the darkness is always listening.